poppin', YouTube? What's going on, man? It's your boy Ink in the Brain, man. We back at it like a bad habit. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in. Please hit the like button on the way in, you feel me? I have another episode of my prison experience to share with y'all today. I'm gonna talk about the drug and alcohol economy behind the walls, all right? So I'm gonna preface this video by saying this. If you're currently fighting a case, you know what I mean? Or it's looking like you gotta go sit it down for a little bit. If you have a drug problem, I'm letting you know right now, you're gonna have a tough bid, all right? You're gonna have a real tough bid because drugs are extremely expensive in the penitentiary. I'm not a drug user myself, but being in the midst and being in the mix, you know what I mean? You're gonna peep certain things and you're gonna learn some things about the drug game behind the walls, right? So that's the purpose of this video. This is for educational purposes only. And yeah, we'll get right to it, man. If y'all haven't caught up to my recent stories, you know what I mean, on what sent me to the penitentiary and things like that, make sure you peep my previous videos, all right? But I'm gonna just pick up where I left off from my last video, right? All right, so boom. So I wake up my second day on the 3 yard, you feel me? And I go to rec that morning. And nobody's at rec, and I'm like, man, what happened to all this mandatory rec shit that y'all Cali niggas was talking about, man? You know what I mean? But we were on lockdown though, so they only let one run out at a time for rec at that point in time. So that was the reason why everybody went on the yard, but I didn't know that at the time, right? But boom, so I go to rec, I get my workout in, it's cold as hell, I come back in, and then they call for chow. And chow, it was like 7:40 in the morning that day or something like that. So I went to chow with 16 and on it. And so, you know, we walked to chow, get in the chow hall, and, you know, I mean, this is my first time in the chow hall. So they're telling me, all right, the blacks sit here, you know, the chiefs, they sit over here. The white boys, they sit in the back, with all them tails back there, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty much learning where to sit and things like that. So we get our trays, we sit down, and man, you know, I'm eating good now. I mean, that morning I think it was potatoes, eggs, and sausage. I'm smashing potatoes. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, man, because look, your boy was starving for about 2 months. You feel me? So I'm getting breakfast now, real breakfast. Man, I'm like, all right, cool. And in 16, he kind of joked with me. He was like, hey, bro, I know you don't want the potatoes. I'm like, shit, yes, I do. I'm smashing potatoes, right? So now on a 3 yard, you feel me? Like I said, we're on lockdown, all right? So, but there's certain ways you can wiggle, all right? So, like when they let us out for chow to go back to our dorm room, like we go back to the dorm, but you have about 5 minutes to where you can post outside, you know what I mean? Or if you gotta go pass a kite to your homeboy in another building, you know what I mean? You might be able to run over that building and toss it under the door, depending on which CO is there. You know what I mean? So I'm posted outside the dorm with me and On It, and he's just like, yeah, man, you know what I mean? I don't know if you get high, but right now it's dry for us in the yard because one of the Pisces just told on a black plug. Right? So apparently it's okay for the Pisces and the Chicanos to snitch on the blacks. Like they don't really consider it snitching. Look, I don't know. I don't know. You feel me? But yeah, apparently, you know, if the Mexicans tell on a black person, it's not snitching. So I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I thought snitching was not allowed. Ain't we on a 3 yard? Last time I checked, all these barbed wire fences up. He's like, yeah, man, it ain't really telling though. You feel me? So I'm like, all right. So basically, the head black, where I'm saying to y'all is the main head black drug dealer that we had on our side of the yard just got told on by a Paisa, got rolled up, and they sent him off to SMU. And so, yeah, so it was ugly, right? So, but I'm like, man, I don't get high, so I really don't give a fuck, but this is what I'm learning, right? Now, fast forward, they actually rolled me up because a lot of us tested positive for COVID. Like, I want to say like my 16th or 17th day there or something like, no. It was like my 26th or 27th day there, we tested positive for COVID. So they moved me from building 11 to building 10. So we ended up packing up our stuff, me and my celly and shit like that. And we go to building 10. So we go to building 10, kind of find out my neighbor that's adjacent to my diagonal, well, not adjacent, but my neighbor diagonal in the back of me, Rico, light-skinned Rico, hella tatted. He was all tatted except for his face, neck, and hands. Clean ink too, from Cali. Cool dude, but he ended up being the tattoo guy over there, and he was the alcohol man. So he was making the hooch, and he was making the clear. Hooch is basically like prison beer or prison wine, you could say. And then the Everclear is like pure alcohol, like vodka. You know what I mean? So he was the alcohol man. And I remember I used to wake up and hear him spraying. And later on, he showed me his whole concoction on how he did it, right? But I used to wake up and take pisses at like 2:30 in the morning. And no lie, like almost every night, I would go walk to the pisser. I would just hear come out of his cell, right? And see, when you mobbing up the run, you're not really looking at people's cell like that because it's actually considered disrespectful. But when I used to hear that, I used to look, and then you would just see Rico, like he had a spray bottle, which was a hair spray bottle full of water, and he would be spraying it on this big trash bag in a circular shape, and he would just be spraying. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? So, you know what I mean? So I'm trying not to drag on this video for a long time, guys, because I know in my previous video, I noticed I could kind of do that. You know what I mean? I could go on tangents and things like that. But long story short, I come to find out he making alcohol. And I'm asking like, damn, like, what's the method behind the madness? And he kind of teaching me on how to do it, really. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's my neighbor, cool dude from Cali. But come to find out, Rico was a drug user himself. He had a real bad heroin problem and a real bad methamphetamine problem. And I'll get to that here next. But yeah, so I'm like, okay. But he got it down to a science. And he's selling bottles of Everclear, like pure alcohol, for like, I want to say like $90, like a 16 ounce of soda for like $90. And then he was selling the Pruno, the hooch, both the same thing. But he was selling the hooch for like $5 a bottle. So he getting money, and he tattooing too, right? So Rico getting all the money on that side of the yard. But come to find out, he was playing with his nose, you know what I'm saying? So all that money was going to his drug habit. And he not getting store like that. He always owing money on store. But he would pay the store man though, but he's basically working to get high and pay off his debt. So I'm like, damn. So I'm just starting to peep game, you feel me? Like, okay, this is the prison economy when it comes to drugs. You got the alcohol, you know what I mean? You got the methamphetamine. And you got spice, which is synthetic marijuana. So prices. These prices are astronomical, guys. And this is why I say if you got a drug habit, you know what I mean, you're going to have a hard time in the pen, especially if you're still strung out when you get to the joint. 1 gram of black, which is black tar heroin, is like $400 or $500. Yes, $400 or $500 for 1 gram of black tar heroin. G, which is meth, which basically, I don't know the science behind it, but basically how they get the meth in is they spray it onto a piece of paper. They spray it onto a piece of paper, they put the piece of paper on the back of a stamp on an envelope and mail it to you. And then when you get the envelope, you just peel back the stamp and it's a piece of paper and you just smoke the paper in a zigzag wrap, in a paper. So that's how you smoke G. I can't remember how much G cost, but I know it was hella expensive, but not as expensive as black though. Black, I remember people like, wait, $500 a gram? Like, what? The fuck? Crazy. So yeah, you got the black, you got the G, you got the spice, You know what I mean? And how it gets in, you might be wondering, well, how do people get drugs inside of prison? Well, if you use your thinking cap, the COs bring it in. You know what I mean? Which are the correctional officers. So, and there was the young CO was bringing it in. He was like 25 years old. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, there's a lot of money to be made in prison off drugs. You feel me? And if you think about it, if you're a CO, you're only making about 35 to 40,000. But you could also make at least another 5 to 10,000 a month just bringing in cell phones and drugs. So, you know what I mean? And the inmates, they're not gonna tell on you. So it's basically free money. If you got a plug on the outside of the gates, it's free money. So like Rico had the CO working for him. Like, so when if there was gonna be a shakedown, which means like the police would come in, they search everybody's cell for contraband, things like that. Anytime there's a shakedown, the CO would click the lights on and off like 4 or 5 times and give them some time, basically saying, hey, there's a shakedown coming, you know what I mean, put your shit up. So whenever they start hitting the lights, you know what I mean, people start scrambling and, you know, people putting, without disclosing too much, people are hiding things, you know what I mean, and yeah, so, you know, I'm just peeping game like, damn, this is crazy, like, you feel me? And the dope fiends, you know what I mean, like what happens is they'll buy the dope, because you might be wondering, well, how is somebody affording $400, $500 for a gram of dope, right? Well, some of these cats got family, you know, they got family members on the outside sending them money, or they may just have some money that they stacked aside to support them while they're locked up. I remember one guy, when I hit my first cell block, he was a chief, a Native American dude, we call him chiefs in there. And, you know, he was getting a monthly check sent to him. So what he did was, he had a TV, right? And TVs cost $226 in there. Man, this dude sold his TV for 8 sticks, which are like basically 8 joints of spice. So I saw him sell his TV for 8 joints. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, it gets serious, man. And then a lot of times what happened is when store day hits, which is commissary day, man, once store day hits, it's like pandemonium because everybody got bills to pay if you get high, things like that. And not everything comes on your store day as it's supposed to as you order it. So you might have ordered $100 worth of stuff, but only $40 worth of stuff come because $60 worth of your stuff wasn't in stock. So now you cop and please, like, oh, yeah, man, you know what I mean? I know that $100 gonna give you is like 40 now, and then you got people getting beat up, you know what I mean? People getting DP'd. Man, I can tell you guys, literally, I've seen at least 15 different cases on new people come on the yard. They're expecting to get some money, right? But they buy drugs that get high, and then the store doesn't hit. And what they do, they roll it up. They check PC, they go to protective custody, and they go do time with the chomos, you know what I mean, and the rapos and the weirdos. You know what I mean? I've seen it happen plenty of times. And it's like, damn, that's neither here nor there, but yeah. So it's a crazy little game, man. The profit margins are crazy. That's why the COs bring it in. And if you a drug dealer on a yard and you don't get high, you're gonna make a killing. My partner, who I became real close with, he was on Winslow. He was selling black on Winslow. He made crazy money on Winslow selling the black. I mean, it's a huge profit margin, you know what I mean? And people take chances bringing it in too. Like, matter of fact, I'm gonna leave it at this because I don't want to make this video too long, but eventually I made it from a 3-yard to where all the killers and murders and kidnappers and all that was at to a minimum 2-yard. So I'm kind of jumping ahead of my story right now to touch on this point, right? But when I hit a 2-yard, I was looking good on it, man. 2-yard was sweet, but I was looking good on it too, right? I had a neighbor come in from a 3-yard, and I want to say his name here, but I'm just gonna call him. I'm gonna call him Mustang, because if you was on the yard, you know who Mustang is, right? You just gotta add his second name onto the last of that, right? But Mustang come in, right, and he hate the yard just like I hated the yard, just like everybody else hated the yard. He's like, man, they need to send me back to a 3 or a 4, man. What the whoa? And you know what I mean? So he my neighbor, so we chopping it up, and he a Mexican dude, right? Now, when I hit the 2 yard, I hated that yard, and I'll touch on it in a later video. So I'm just head straight. I just work out, watch TV, listen to music on my tablet, and that's it. But he was pretty solid though, so he used to chop it up. Come to find out he a big D-boy on the street, and he like, man, I'm about to get a pack in here. I just think he jaws and no, you feel me? Because a lot of people just be yapping in the joint. Man, long story short, man, he ended up hiring a guy that was working on the outside crew, right? So on a 2 yard, sometimes they let you work outside the gate. He coordinated a plan to where he got somebody to deliver an ounce of methamphetamine, throw it over there was a cemetery near our prison yard. He ordered somebody to drive an ounce of meth, throw it over the gate, and then in like a cup, right? And basically he had one of the workers who was working on the outside of the gate get into that cemetery, get the ounce of meth, bring it in through his ass. He made it through the dogs and made it through the search and all that, right? And brought it to him. And he had a cell phone. He got a mini cell phone too, called a Peanut. A Peanut is a cell phone the size of your thumb, right? He been telling me for like 2 months he gonna get it in, right? Man, one morning, and I work with him in the kitchen too, right? And then, because one day we're in the kitchen, he's like, man, wait till we get to the house, man. I got something to show you. I'm like, oh, for real? Like, yeah. Man, he showed me. He pulled it out and showed me, right? He had an ounce. It was like, the ounce of G was maybe that big. It wasn't really that big, but it was packed. And then he showed me a cell phone. It was called the Peanut, and it's like a little phone. It's a flip phone, but it's like the size of your thumb. I've never seen it before in my life. I'm like, wow. I'm like, now keep in mind that on a 2 yard, everybody got less than 5 years. He was going home in 10 months. So he's taking a chance of importing 1 ounce of meth and a cell phone on a 2 yard to make profit, which was just insane, man. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. I was like, bruh, you are crazy taking these chances, because that could easily get you another 5-6 years in the joint. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because when I came home, I looked up his number on the Department of Corrections inmate locator, and they did catch him with they caught him with the what's it called? Not paraphernalia, but contraband. We had contraband, but basically a cell phone. I can't remember off the top of my head what they said was, but yeah, he got caught with prison contraband, which I'm assuming was a cell phone. And then they sent him to Maury. so I'm like, damn, okay. So they sent him to a 4 yard. I'm like, damn. But they didn't catch him with no drugs though, from what I seen on there. But yeah, man. But yeah, man. The prison drug game, alcohol, it runs rampant. The spice. You know what I mean? People who are doing a lot of time, usually they're drug users, unless they have a solid mind frame and, they're just really zoned in. But it's common for people that do a lot of time and use drugs, but you want to be careful, man. There was a white boy, actually from Building 11. When they moved me to Building 10, this white boy, he was a lifer. He had a real bad heroin problem and messed up some money, man. And sure enough, about 2 or 3 weeks after I moved out of that pod, they ended up stabbing him up. They ended up poking him up and leaving him in the mop closet. So I wasn't there. I didn't see it. He survived, but it was a bad scene from what I seen. And yeah, man. So yeah, you got a drug problem, you gotta go sit down. I advise y'all to get clean, because it's expensive and you're gonna run into a lot of issues. You're gonna be running up store debts. You know what I mean? Your people are gonna be beating you up for not paying off your debts, man, and you might get killed. Because there's stories of that happening too. You know what I mean? That I could touch on later video as well, man. But hey, this your boy Ink in the Brain, man. Please hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, hit that like button on the way out if you didn't on the way in. And I'll catch you on the next one, y'all. Be smooth and be solid.